and welcome to Yeti at Large. This is a channel focused on making the most out of what you have, no matter where you're at. Thanks for tuning in and helping out.
While it seems in recent years the election cycles know no beginning or ends, there's definitely peaks and valleys. But today, in a sense, feels like the start of the 2026 Arizona gubernatorial race, with incumbent Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs having an Arizona First rally. Now, she had one yesterday down in Tucson, and today, November 2nd, it's up in Phoenix. This event's being held at the Pipefitters Local Union House, number 469. Full disclosure, I'm a graduate of the apprenticeship journeyman program in the state of Arizona, obviously from back in the 80s, but I have my journeyman card still, and I have a lot of love for people in the trades. So, while the crowd files in and they get ready to go, we're going to stand by and see what the governor has, hopefully lays out some platform positions, and provides an opportunity for Q&A. I wanted to show the room for this incumbent governor of the state of Arizona's kickoff to the re-election campaign season. There were only 212 people in this room, 31 of which had name badges, handful of security and media, and that was the crowd.
Thank you, Supervisor Gallardo. That's the energy we need because we're going to re-elect Katie Hobbs.
All due respect to the mayors and the warm-up speakers, thank you so much, but we're going to put you up here right now because honestly, most of the electorate is well aware that the warm-up speakers are there to raise the energy, to do the cheerleading, a few platitudes, a few fighting for you, a few handful of cliches. This is typical politics. We find no fault in it, but we just don't have time for it. We're going to go through our observations of the governor's speech and a few keynotes at near mock speed. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, please leave a comment down below or just go to the governor's unedited portion of the rally and listen for yourself and make up your own mind. The purpose of journalism is to provide an unbiased, factual account of newsworthy events. We're going to do our best, and a few things that may seem like commentary or criticism are going to be provable, observable platforms. With that said, let's go through a few highlights. From a Toastmaster's perspective, this speech was highly scripted. She was reading from a book. Now, granted, I got notes here, but I'm not the governor, and I'm not running for governor. Any candidate for elected office, especially the chief executive officer of the great state of Arizona, should be able to give us their best 15 minutes on their feet with no notes and no scripts. So that was disappointing. There was a tepid call to action. There was a little cheerleading, but for the most part, from a speech scorecard, it came across as flat and unmotivated. One of the problems that we did have is the slogan is plagiarized. Arizona First was quite literally used by her opponent in the 2022 gubernatorial election, Kari Lake. Now, while I don't believe it's copyrighted and trademarked, it's interesting to note that that was their choice of slogans. Oscar Wilde was famously quoted as saying that imitation is the highest form of flattery, but the second half of that quote is that the mediocre can give to the genius. Ouch. In that spirit, I couldn't help but overlook this rental bus. Now, Kari Lake's campaign was highly criticized by the Tucson Weekly for outsourcing t-shirts from Honduras stating what happened to Arizona First. Well, I couldn't find then, and I don't find now, any textile mills in the great state of Arizona making t-shirts, so that's a bit of a steep hill to climb. But I did find it interesting that this tour bus with this very expensive vinyl wrap was registered in Minnesota, and the tags expired in February. I sure hope you're not putting this thing on the road anytime soon. Amongst the governor's points, comments about how extremists presented a partisan budget to her, both in Arizona and in Washington. Now, this type of inflammatory rhetoric, some people claim it's a dog whistle for violence. I would recommend, instead of using unmeasurable language like extremist or partisan, we just call them Republicans. That's who's on the other side of the aisle. Let's talk factually, without hyperbole, and let's assign measurable, definitive labels to what we're talking about. Allow the voters to make up their mind. Don't try to tell them how to feel for stuff ahead of time. The governor did note that this budget would have skyrocketed the deficit, but provided no facts or examples. The governor made a point of highlighting that this was going to be a very, very close race, which I think was interesting. She cited the previous race was decided by a margin of 17,000 votes, primarily in Maricopa County. Now, a great deal of controversy still surrounds this election, and there has been a large amount of observable, measurable evidence of processes and electoral events that took place that are indefensible. I will tell you, going through police academy in Arizona, we were taught that our actions must rise above the appearance of impropriety. Meaning, if there was a conflict of interest, we should declare that early and move away from that. Our current governor was in a position as Secretary of State where they had direct managerial effect over an election that they were a candidate in. In common sense layman's terms, anybody realizes the governor should have recused herself from any oversight in that position, potentially even stepping down from that position prior to participating in an election. We will say the governor reminded us she's never lost an election. The governor talked about creating opportunities for every corner of the state. Arizona's a large, large place. The county that I patrolled was nearly the same size as the country of Denmark. The governor also mentioned that she would be visiting every corner of the state. Well, if previous track records are any indication of future participation, that seems unlikely. However, Governor, I have some recommendations. Would you please visit the Dollar General in the middle of the Navajo Nation? And please don't call it a reservation. It's a sovereign nation. The Dene people, they're very proud of that. That Dollar General right in the middle might provide you with a perspective you would find important to observe. Please visit those corners that people don't get to often, like Ash Fork or Seligman, Oatman. Talk to those people. You add all those areas up and their electorate doesn't even make a statistically measurable portion of Maricopa County. So there's not a huge rationale to do that, but I hope you will. And finally, the thing that did bother me as a anchorman, a journalist, is how you noted that you were the first social worker ever elected governor in the United States. And thank you for your work helping people as a social worker. But you cited huge inroads with teenage homeless populations. And I couldn't help but notice, on my way to your rally, about a mile away at Indian School and the 51, there was this large homeless population there, stumbling into traffic, obviously addled and crippled by addiction. I went back a day after your rally and talked to some of these people. Let's look. Here we are in the heart of Phoenix, Arizona. It's not a high dollar district here, but about a mile north of here is the Biltmore district, some of the most expensive real estate in the state of Arizona. Just a mile south of here, the governor had their rally yesterday. Claimed to have made great inroads on solving homelessness for very specific populations, like veterans, for example. Let's take a look at it up close. Something the governor said about taking some credit for addressing veteran homelessness and providing assistance. Now, some help may have gotten funneled and directed towards those populations that need that support, but I've got to tell you, the real world, practical application and viewpoint is there is plenty of despair and homelessness, and the problem has not been solved. He's openly using methamphetamines in public. There's alcohol abuse, there's despair, there's mental health challenges, and I'm not trying to be dramatic here, I'm actually trying to be respectful. But Governor, there's no visible evidence on the street of what you claim to have brought such great benefit to. Nobody's out here because they absolutely want to be. This is a level of dehumanization and despair that's hard to imagine. I don't have the answers for what kind of resources are going to solve this problem, but I do have the observations that not enough has been done yet. We have an internal contract with society that we all, in a free, democratic, representative republic society, we agree that we're going to do a certain amount of self-care and follow the rules. sometimes that contract gets broken. And there's a variety of reasons why, whether it's substance abuse, whether it's mental health issues. I'm not going to define that for other people because there's probably so many reasons and I haven't walked a mile in those shoes. I just know this breaks my heart to my marrow. And I dare say that I haven't seen a governor in my lifetime address it properly. Thank you very much, guys. Walking beauty.
Florida, North Dakota, it's called Fix It Forward Ministers. They actually fix people's cars, homeless, that actually have jobs like DoorDash and stuff.
You wouldn't catch me going to Fargo, North Dakota this time of year.
I wish they had it here.
I have to run. Take care. Now, I don't claim to have answers to how to solve this, but please don't cite your inroads with teen homelessness knowing that there's veterans and tribal members on the street. Before we tie this off, I just want to note from a statistician perspective, there were 212 people. In Maricopa County currently, there are roughly 2,648,830 registered voters, which means statistically speaking, the attendance at this rally, 0.008% of the electorate. A statistically significant cross-sample is 0.05. To compare and contrast that, experts identified that there were nearly 300,000 people in the area of the Charlie Kirk Memorial. Now, about 100,000 made it indoors between the two arenas. Interestingly enough, that would represent 11.83% of the electorate, a massively statistically significant portion. All that to be said, this campaign has acknowledged tacitly, implicitly, and passively that they face a significant uphill battle in a re-election bid. I would please encourage people that have made it this far in the video, watch the governor's unedited remarks. Make your own observations. Please participate in our electorate. Please volunteer in your community. Please make informed decision based on facts and not emotion. Yeti at large.
Much noise saying, Katie, 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 the Honorable Governor of the State of Arizona, Gov Hobbs.
Supervisor Steve Gallardo, thank you for being a fierce advocate for working families and for standing up for democracy at every turn. To the other Oscar Day, that was not confusing for the organizers at all, by the way. To Leader Oscar de los Santos, thank you for your leadership in the legislature and for your commitment to expanding opportunity for every Arizonan. And Tempe Mayor Corey Woods, thank you for showing what local leadership looks like and for helping build communities where everyone has a chance to thrive. And I have to say, as someone who grew up in Tempe, who's a Phoenician now, Mayor Gallego is great, she's doing a great job, but you're my mayor, Corey. I'm so grateful to each of you for your partnership and your friendship and for helping lead the way as we continue the Arizona First Tour right through Phoenix. And before I dive in, I just want to remind everyone that there's an election on Tuesday. Local elections are so important in helping shape our schools, our neighborhoods, and our communities. So however you vote, make sure that you vote and make sure that the people around you do as well. Because as you all know, our democracy works best when everyone participates. see a lot of familiar faces. I also see a lot of new ones. So let me start by telling you a little bit about myself and the choice that we face in this next election. Not Tuesdays, but a year from now. I was born and raised right here in Arizona in a working class family in Tempe. And my parents worked hard every single day to provide for us. But when my dad was between jobs, there were times that my parents couldn't make ends meet, and we relied on our church community and programs like food stamps to get by, which makes what's going on right now really personal for me. Those experiences taught me a lesson that I carry with me every single day. When your neighbor is in need, you show up, you help, and you serve. With everyday costs constantly going up, I know firsthand the challenges that so many Arizona families are facing. My first job was at Burger King. I waited tables at Pizza Hut to help pay for college. I earned scholarships and I worked my way through Northern Arizona University and Arizona State University, earning both bachelor's and master's degrees in social work. My husband and I raised our kids through tough financial times. I've taken second and third jobs, even driving for Uber to keep things moving. And I have felt the pressure and the uncertainty of knowing how you're going to pay the bills and provide for your family. So when I talk about making life more affordable for Arizona families, it's not just a talking point for me. It's something that I've lived. I know what it feels like to worry about paying for the bills and putting Christmas presents under the tree. That understanding that no one should go through those struggles alone is what led me to a career in social work. My first job out of college was working with homeless youth in Phoenix. I spent my days with teenagers who had been abandoned, abused, and left without guidance. I saw courage and resilience in these young people who had been through unimaginable hardship and yet still found the strength to keep going. I helped lead one of the largest domestic abuse shelters in the country, supporting women and children who were fleeing abuse. These people had endured the worst and yet found the strength to fight for themselves and their families. And they inspired me, and they showed me that when we serve others, we lift up our whole community. But I also saw that we were treating symptoms, not solving root problems. We were helping people survive, not thrive. I pushed for policy change, but the legislature wouldn't lift a finger. And if leaders wouldn't act on something as urgent and nonpartisan as domestic violence, how could they tackle anything else? And that is when I realized that if you can't change policy, you have to change who's making it. So I ran for office and I won. I served for 8 years in the state legislature, and then in 2018, you elected me Secretary of State. Yeah. I was the first Democrat who won that office in 30 years. And I walked into an office that had been neglected and mismanaged. And it wasn't glamorous work, but it mattered. And thank goodness that we cleaned up that mess, because then 2020 happened. And with unprecedented scrutiny, we delivered a historically secure election. Right. In 2020, in the face of the big lie, in the face of threats to myself, my family, and my staff, I was glad that it was me in that position to defend the will of Arizona's voters. Some of the most powerful people in the country wanted me to back down, but I stood my ground because I will always fight for Arizonans. Taught me a fundamental truth. Leadership is not about headlines or partisan politics. It's about showing up, rolling up your sleeves, and doing what's right for the people that you serve, even when it's hard. Woo! And while career politicians have ignored some of our toughest problems for decades, I've tackled them head on, like securing Arizona's water future. Our groundwater management laws hadn't been updated since 1980, but after 45 years of inaction, I got it done. And because we fought for this, we'll save enough water for tens of thousands of families while building more housing, creating jobs, and reducing costs. I also stopped a foreign corporation from pumping our state dry to pad their own profits and shift their costs overseas. This action protected family farms, and I've also worked to negotiate tribal water settlements, because that is the kind of leadership that Arizonans deserve. Leaders who take the hard problems others ignore. Now, I'm going to be really honest with you. Because of our electorate, we know that this race will be one of the toughest in the country. Right after the 2024 election, Donald Trump came to Arizona, and he made it clear that winning this governor's race was a top priority for him. He wants someone who will do whatever he demands and not push back. And all three of my opponents fit this bill. Here's the reality. The last race for governor was won by just 17,000 votes. That's how close it was, and we know that this race is going to be just as tight. Every vote's going to matter, and that's why your work, your energy, and your voice are going to help make all the difference. The choice in this election could not be clearer. My opponents embrace every single harmful position coming out of Washington, D.C., no matter the cost to Arizona families. They're focused on Washington, and I'm focused on Arizona. And that difference matters, because leadership is about priorities. It's about who you fight for and what you deliver. Arizonans deserve steady leadership, not chaos. And nothing shows the difference more than the two budgets, one here in Arizona and one in Washington. Budgets are moral documents, and they show what you value and who you stand up for. So let's look at the contrast. When extremists here in the legislature sent me a partisan budget that slashed services and left families behind, I vetoed it, and I forced them back to the table, and we negotiated the Arizona Promise budget. A balanced, bipartisan budget that puts families first. In Washington, politicians rammed through a reckless partisan budget, and all of my opponents cheered it on. Here's what real Arizona leadership looks like. While Washington politicians passed a partisan budget that skyrockets the deficit, I'm proud that our budget is bipartisan and balanced. While Washington politicians pass a budget that slashes Medicaid, I am proud that our budget protects Medicaid for 60,000 Arizonans with disabilities. While Washington politicians pass a budget that takes meals away from kids, I'm proud of our budget that provides 68,000 kids with meals at school. While Washington politicians pass a budget that slashes funding to law enforcement, I am proud of my budget that gives well-deserved pay raises to state troopers and firefighters. And while Washington politicians passed a budget that makes it harder for students to afford higher education, our budget will provide scholarships to working class students to afford community college. And I will say this again, every single one of my opponents supported that terrible budget. But here's the truth. None of the progress we've made happens without all of you. Every single one of you here owns a piece of this campaign for Arizona's future. You are the heart and soul of this movement, Every door that you knock on, every phone call you make, every neighbor that you talk to matters. Elections are won in neighborhoods, in living rooms, at kitchen tables, and on the streets of every city and town and reservation in this state. So I know it's going to be a long year and a tough year, but I am asking you to keep pushing. Talk to your neighbors, share our story, bring more people into this campaign, make sure that your friends and your family and your colleagues get involved. Every Arizonan who believes in opportunity, security, and freedom. Together, we will build an Arizona where every child goes to a great public school. Where every family can afford healthcare and housing. Where every community, rural, urban, suburban, tribal, has a fair shot at opportunity, where small businesses can grow and where hard work is rewarded no matter where you live. Already we're delivering on that vision. In the past 3 years, I've created more than 100,000 new jobs and brought manufacturing back home, including TSMC's historic $165 billion investment in Phoenix. That means tens of thousands of good-paying jobs for years to come. We've also strengthened border security, launching a new border coordination office, investing over $100 million in local law enforcement, and stopping millions of fentanyl pills from entering our communities. I know that you all are going to hear a lot of things in this campaign, and that my opponents will try to make me into someone I'm not. But I am rooted in Arizona. I've waited tables, taken second and third jobs to pay the bills, and I'm the only social worker ever elected governor in the United States. Worry about keeping a roof over your head. And that's why I wake up every single day fighting for Arizona families, making sure that opportunities are reaching every single corner of our state. Now, again, I know this campaign's not going to be easy. There's going to be people who underestimate me, and I know what that feels like because every single campaign that I've run, I've been underestimated. But I can tell you one thing. I've never lost an election. We are not slowing down. I'm going to show up in every corner of Arizona because every single part of our state matters. Every Arizonan matters in this race. And with your help, we are going to win, and we are going to keep Arizona moving forward. Thank you so much.
Is the governor taking any questions today?
No, not after this event. We said that in the press release.
Okay. Will there be a chance in the near future?
Yeah, if you're on our
special?
press list, we'll have, you can reach out to press@katiehobbs.org.
Okay.
Yep, of course. Yeah.
Thank you.